So for my independent study project this semester, I chose to do the customer experience in the men's retail space. And specifically, I wanted to look at what sets Sid Mashburn, the menswear brand based out of Atlanta, ahead of the pack in the menswear industry. So after looking at various examples of the right ways to do it, the wrong ways to do it, and kind of the evolving retail landscape, um, when you take into consideration uh, online sales and social media and the just growing trends in marketing, I boiled it down to 4 points of how you can get men's retail right. First, high quality product. If you don't have a high quality product, it's not even worth uh, putting yourself out there. It has to be something that you believe in. It has to be something that you can sell, and that's something that I think that we'll see Sid Mashburn has done better than a lot of his competitors. Then customer education, and this is a deficiency I see in the men's retail world, and that's I think one of the ways that Sid Mashburn has been able to get a leg up on the competition, because anybody can sell something and charge a lot of money for it. But what makes a customer excited and more comfortable with spending more money than initially thinking they're going to get it, they're going to spend on this product, is when they have education as to why it costs this much. And so that's another point that's very important. Then finally, uh, you got to have a great in-store experience and a top-notch staff, and that's something that has been a emphasis for Sid, and we'll hear from Sid and his wife Ann later on in this presentation, kind of where they talk about um, how they uh, how they accomplish these goals. But the in-store experience, people have so many choices these days. They can go online, they can shop. I mean, you can call, you can get online, you can shop from your phone, you can order everything from Amazon, have it shipped to you, try it on, and return what you don't like. You don't have to go to a clothing store anymore. So as a retailer, it's imperative that you make it uh, an event and make it a pleasurable experience and something that you want to do to go to the store. And then the staff goes hand in hand. You have to have a group of people that are excited, motivated, and there to serve. And I think service is an aspect that Sid Mashburn we'll see gets absolutely perfect, and also sets them ahead. But first, let's look at high quality product and how Sid Mashburn achieves this. So there are a lot of men's stores out there. They're at varying price points. From the fast fashion areas like H&M that has men's clothes, or comparable brands like that. You can find a sport coat from them for less than $100. But then at the highest end, that you can buy a bespoke Savile Row made, handmade garment made specifically for you, and it can cost $10,000. And that's scratching the surface a lot of times for some of the most high end. Well, Sid Mashburn occupies a space in the middle. It's not the cheapest. You're going to be paying a decent amount. It's probably more expensive than I would say most of the guys are comfortable paying with initially. But when you learn about the product and you see the quality, and this is something that they do very well, is they explain the quality, and they emphasize the quality of their products. Then you start to understand why you might want to invest in a garment like this. So for example, if you look at this picture, when I kind of got into this style of menswear and I was looking for a sport coat to start business school with, I wanted something that I could wear with a pair of jeans, or kind of wear with a tie, and kind of go to a networking event or a cocktail reception or something like that. And so I went to a local store in Baton Rouge, and I brought them a picture of the Sid Mashburn coat that we saw on this original slide, and I said I'd like to make a coat exactly like this, and I'd like it to have soft, natural shoulders, and I'd like it to have all the hallmarks of this Sid Mashburn coat. And the guy said, "Of course, yeah, we can totally do that for you." But when the coat came out, um, the shoulder, if you and you can see it, if you look by the arrow on the slide, the shoulder was very pointy. And if you compare it to the picture below, which is a Sid Mashburn coat, where the shoulder slopes and you can see the outline of the guy's shoulder wearing it, his natural shoulder, his actual bone. If you can see, it's a rounded look, whereas the one on top is a very square, boxy look. So I thought, I was dismayed because I'd asked for a soft shoulder, and he said, and I said, well, it's great and everything, but it wasn't exactly what I asked for. He said, oh no, it totally is. Look, there's no pad in here. And he felt the pad, he felt the coat, and he could bunch it up and crush it in his hands, and it was just like a jacket. I mean, it was just like a piece of fabric. And he said, see, there's no pad here, so that's what you wanted. Well, what I then learned as I studied more about these coats, and I studied, okay, well, what is it that makes the coat have this rounded look as opposed on the bottom, as opposed to the boxy look on top? It has nothing to do with how much padding there is or not. You can have a padded shoulder that actually is rounded. What it is that if you look at the seam in the on the top, it's cheaper to cut wide seams because they fit more people. It's easier to put a sleeve on a wide shouldered seam, and it's a more cost effective and streamlined way of production. And it's a way that makers who charge less for their products are able to do it. There's less variation in the pattern they have to produce, and so it's just a more economical way of producing. So, and that's great, and that's fine. But that's something that's that extra level of quality that you get when you pay a little bit more to a brand like Sid Mashburn. And that was something that was one of the first times when I really learned. I'm like, oh, I can see where you get what you pay for here. And so I think having a high quality product and then hand in hand educating your customer on that product is very important, and is a way that Sid sets themselves apart, because comparable brands like a Brooks Brothers or maybe a J. Crew, they might have similar priced items, but they don't communicate as well as Sid does, telling their customer exactly why is it this price? What is it about this product that commands this price? And why is it actually a great investment or a great value? So moving on, this is another example of how the attention to quality and the attention to detail that Sid Mashburn takes with their marketing and with their collateral that they put out. So for instance, if you look on the left, this is a full breakdown of how their coats are made. And if you look on the left, the white kind of cream part, that's actually a horsehair canvas that is the body and the skeleton of the coat. Without that, you lose a lot of shape, and you lose a lot of the clean lines that you like to see in a nice fitting jacket. I don't know if you've ever seen somebody wearing a suit and it almost looks kind of rumpled and looks kind of wrinkled, but they've taken it to the cleaners. It's not wrinkled like it came out of the dryer. It's wrinkled and kind of looks kind of warped. That's because a lot of companies to cut down on costs will use glue instead of this horsehair material. And so that's not good or bad. There is definitely a place in the market, and there's a need for a lower cost product for people who can't afford a higher end product. But being able to communicate why this product is the price that it is, and show that, like a picture like this of, look what's inside your jacket. I'm never gonna see that, because I'm not gonna open the seams and take apart my jacket to inspect whether there's a canvas in there or not. But once I'm educated and once I'm shown the attention to quality that they take, that's an important way of marketing your product. Same thing with how they on their website, they have a whole thing where they show, if you look to the right, they talk about the fabrics, and they talk about the way the different properties of the cloths they choose. So these are a breakdown of, they have three at Sid Mashburn, they make three types of navy blazers. They make one in this lino hop sack, one in a wool fresco, and one in a mohair blended uh, blended fabric, a huckaback, they call it. And so they each have different properties. They each have different qualities that make them better for different scenarios. So, for instance, the huckaback has if you read on in the description, there's a little bit of a shine to it, and so they say it lends a little bit more formality. I have that. That's the jacket that I ended up going with. But when I went through the process of selecting my jacket, we looked at all three and we said, okay, which one fits my needs more, and which one am I most comfortable with? And by learning about the fabrics and being educated on that, it was a very it made me, and I think it makes a lot of customers a lot more comfortable, and it brings an understanding of what exactly am I buying, and I'm not just buying something for the brand, which is something that which is a big criticism I think of a lot of fashion brands that charge higher prices. You know, a lot of times you'll say, "Oh, you're just paying for that polo horse," or "You're just paying for that Lacoste alligator." I think that this is something that Sid Mashburn does well, is that they show off. No, you know, yes, you are paying for a brand, but you're paying for quality in that the brand signifies. So, another great example of customer education that they do is they take advantage of kind of multimedia and social media atmosphere that we're in now. So, not only do they produce great high quality images and diagrams that show their quality, they'll do videos. So, if you watch here,
The cool thing about a Navy jacket is it's every man's coat. It's the foundational piece of every guy's wardrobe. Can be a flak jacket, it can be a cargo jacket. What's cool about also the Navy blazer, besides its function, it's the color of the night sky. So everything goes with the night sky. In developing this jacket, basically the idea is how do we build a natural shoulder jacket, non-darted, high armhole, narrow shoulders, slim through the body, a little bit shorter. That's not a jacket that ever really existed to our knowledge.
so in this video, Sid talks about this. This is Sid Mashburn himself, the designer, the head of the company. He talks about the Navy blazer, the importance of it, why Navy, what can you do with it, why is his special. He talks about the way the shoulders constructed, the armhole, the all of the attributes of the coat, and the video goes on for a long time. And this is, but what I want to emphasize is this is not a sale. This is not a QVC sales video. This is him just talking about a product that his company creates, that he believes in, that he and he wants to share the value of. But at no point does he say, and it costs this much, and you can buy it here, and tomorrow we're running a sale, and if you buy three, we'll give you one for free. It's all about quality. It's all about educating the customer, and none about sale, which I think is a really refreshing thing these days, because we're so bombarded with emails, commercials, and social media posts that are just getting right to the point of buy this now. The same thing can be said for the another aspect of the customer education that they do, which is a bi-weekly column called Hey Sid. And so fans of the brand will send emails into the company, and they'll ask a question about style, about clothes, about care for clothes. There's been ones about, hey, what is your favorite way, or how do you shine your shoes? There's been some words, what's your favorite knot to use to tie your tie? But this one I think is a good example of marketing and selling, but not in an over the top way and not in a pushy way. In this example, a guy named Kyle says, "Hey, I'm trying to build a wardrobe, and I travel a lot. And so what are some of the basic pieces?" And in a lengthy post, and this is just an excerpt of it, but they go through kind of what they feel, what the perspective of the brand and of Sid himself is, as far as um, building a wardrobe. And then almost in a very subtle way, they link to their own products. They say, hey, if you like, this is what we feel like is important: a navy suit, white shirt, navy tie, dark jeans, brown cap toe Oxfords. If you like those, you can click on this, you can click on this image, and it'll take you to buy that suit or to buy that jacket. But at no point does it say, you have to have, the keys to a capsule wardrobe are the Sid Mashburn blue suit and the brown shoes and you have to have our jeans, or you don't have any, or you can't have a good wardrobe. It's very much egalitarian, and with a subtle suggestion of, if you like this style, this is our perspective, and if you like it, here, this is for you. And we got a link for it right here. But this is something where, an education piece where I was reading the Hey Sid columns long before I was a big customer. I bought a few things, but once you buy it from them, you get on their email list. I read every article, and I read every Hey Sid every week it comes out, and a lot of times I don't buy from it. Now sometimes I do, but probably most of the time, I'd say 70%, I just read it, I enjoy it, and I tuck it away in my head, and I say, oh, that could be a good idea later on. Maybe when I do need a trench coat like they have here, if it's raining a lot, and I need something that I can wear over a suit because I'm going to a meeting, and I want to look professional, but I don't want to get rained on. Well, you know what? I remember that Hey Sid from a year ago where he talked about one of the essentials is their traveler trench. Let me go back, and I'm going to pick that up. So I think it's a very subtle and nuanced way to really sell without selling. Next, I think one of the great hallmarks of an incredible retail experience in the menswear space is you have to have a great in-store experience. Not a good, not an okay, but it has to be great. Because like we talked about earlier, there's so many options, there's so many places you can go, and there's so many online options where you don't have to leave your house. You gotta develop a reason to go to the store. And what's cool about the Sid Mashburn stores is that a lot of it is all by design. So for instance, we'll hear from them. They say they created they want to create a local feeling. So for instance, I've been to the one in Houston, I've been to the one in Atlanta, and I've been to the one in Washington, DC. The one in Atlanta, it's going to have Brave stuff. It'll have Georgia, maybe some peach style, Georgia peaches decorations. Whereas the one in Houston, they've got Houston Astros. They got Texas style stuff. They got a picture of Nolan Ryan. It feels very local, even though it's a national brand. And they give character to each store based on the location they're at. So it makes it feel more like, this is my store. And that's something that they want it to feel like. You'll hear from Sid. He says, he talks about how it's a clubhouse style. They want to build a clubhouse style atmosphere. They want to build a fraternity, almost a fraternity where everyone gets a bid. And then, another cool aspect, not only it becomes a destination for you to go to, because not only is it a place where you can go buy clothes, or you can just go in and get out and get it and buy your stuff. They do events. So for instance, this one in the middle, if you see the nice looking convertible red car, this is called Coffee and Classics. I got to go to it earlier this year. And it's an event where Sid himself comes to town. This one was held in Houston. He came to town, and they basically did a small car show of just classic cars, very unique sports cars. And they had free food, free, coffee, and really, really great pastries. People could shop around. There was definitely more people outside in the parking lot looking at cars, talking to people, and just having a good time and talking with Sid than there were people buying. And most of the staff was outside interacting. There was so much going on outside that the store kind of took care of itself. And of course, if you wanted to buy something, you could. They're not going to say no, but it's about so much more than that. And that's where, as Ann says here,
but we made a place that felt like a place you wanted to just be and not just to buy.
They want to build a place. They want to build a place that people wanted to go and not just buy. And and also, as Sid says here,
well, some guys like to think of it as their third place.
So the third place being like, you have your home, you have your work or whatever, or school if you're in school, where you spend most of your time outside of home. Everybody has a third place, which is kind of the place where they just like to be. And I totally see that when I've gone into the store, and I've gone a couple times, um, specifically to the one in Houston. It's a place where you want to just hang out and you just want to be, and you never feel rushed, and you never feel like if you're not buying something, you're intruding, and it's a great feeling. Finally, another hallmark of the great in-store experience, and if you look to the picture on the right, is their in-house tailor shop that's really front and center. So at a lot of places, for instance, like one time I remember I was in Dillard's in Atlanta. Um, we went to I went to get a suit for my first real internship, and they had to fit me for it. They took me to some back room that I couldn't even find to get me pinned. But the difference in something that Sid does very differently from a lot of stores is that the tailor shop is actually uh, in the front, front and center, almost on like a stage, and you can watch the guys work. When you go and get fitted, you walk straight back. They have a big mirror, and they pin you up, and they make sure they do you right, and you can see kind of how um, how the things are made, and what the handwork that goes into these products, and the time and attention to detail that there is. And so that's really, I think, what really puts a bow on this great in-store experience that they've cultivated. And then, of course, as is with many businesses, but I think even more so in retail, you have to have a top-notch staff. One of the things that we'll hear Sid says here.
We don't pay any commission to the guys that work in our shop. They're not incented to work with a particular customer when they walk in the door. They're incented to help whoever walks through the door.
And that's a conscious choice, because I think we've all been to stores where you can clearly tell that the workers who are totally in the right. I don't blame them. This is how they make their money. They need to make sales. But the kind of the different way that Sid staffs his establishments lend to a more a casual and relation based experience that it's very no pressure. It's very friendly, and it's, hey, if you don't like it, that's fine. Hey, you don't have to buy that. In fact, let's find something you do like. Or if you don't see anything you like today, I totally get it. I'll keep you in mind, and I'll let you know next week if your size comes in. We're not going to do something today just to force a sale, and that's something that's very refreshing, especially when you're used to going to some of the local some local stores where you feel like if you're not buying, you're being looked down on, and you kind of don't belong, or you shouldn't be there. It's the complete opposite at the Sid store. There have been times where I've spent a lot of money at the store, and I've been treated great. And whether there was one time where I basically brought a bunch of clothes that I'd already bought from Sid in the past, and I needed them to get fitted. And so I really didn't spend much money that day, but I spent a ton of time, and there was no difference in the way that I was treated. And that's the hallmark of a great experience with quality staff. There's also you can tell the fruits of selecting great staff in some of the anecdotes that I've had from working with the staff. For instance, when I first kind of became aware of the store in Houston, I called, and the gentleman I spoke to on the phone was super nice and encouraging and accommodating, and he was basically had the entire attitude of, look, man, we're going to take care of you. If you come to our store, we're going to make sure we get fixed up. It's going to fit. It's going to be the way you want it. And if it's not, we'll return it. Don't worry about it. And it was a very refreshing feeling, because over the time of me going to different stores around, locally in Baton Rouge, it was very transactional, and the conversation I had was not transactional at all. And that continued as I went to the store. Another example, there was one time where I was looking at different clothes, and I put on a pair of pants, And I wasn't that sure on them, but I wanted to, get a second opinion. And I walked out to my buddy Adrian, who you'll actually see, he's in the bottom left of the screen, and he basically instantly said, "Nah, man, I can't sell you those. They don't look right." Now, I think that at a lot of men's stores, you're basically told yes all the time. Yes, that looks great on you, and this, and this. Let's get you this, this, and this. You need it all, and you probably get sold stuff that either you don't really love, or that probably shouldn't be sold to you in the first place. And so being told no was an incredible experience for me. It kind of counterintuitively, because that showed that the staff there, they care, and they care about you as a person. They care about what looks good on you, and it's not just about making a sale. Another great example, I bought a pair of jeans from them from a different store. I was in DC for a work event, and I got the chance to go to the store up in DC, and so I bought a pair of jeans. And when I got them, they had to fit them to me. When I got them, they just never fit. It was very strange. So I took them to the Houston store recently, and when I put them on, and we were going to try and adjust them to make them fit, instantly Adrian, who's the manager there, said, "You know what? I'm sorry. We just got to refund you for these." I think there must have been a mess up in the alterations. Now, that was another incredible moment of staff customer service, because I don't think if I go to the Dillards in Atlanta and they give me a pair of pants that don't fit, and then I take it to the Dillards in Baton Rouge, they're kind of just going to say, "Oh, sorry, man, you're out of luck. We can get you another pair. Do you want to go try on a pair, and we'll get them done here, and then and that'll be $200." But they would not. I would be very hard pressed to find a large retailer with multiple locations that would be willing to refund an altered product that they can't resell, and that had been altered and had been messed up at a different location. That was a really incredible moment where I said, wow, the customer service that I've been studying for this project, and that I've researched through some of the clips that you're hearing in podcasts and reading articles from Sid himself, that was that in work, and that was a really great moment. Now, I want to pose this question. Would you drive 8 hours simply to shop at one store? And could that possibly be worth it? So transactionally, maybe not. I mean, with gas prices right now, it's very expensive to drive, to Houston and back in one day, which I've done multiple times. Then, you're going to get to the store, you're probably going to want to get lunch, and the area where the Sid Mashburn store is a nicer area of Houston, so everything's a little bit more expensive. Not terrible, but it is a little bit more expensive. It's definitely more expensive than eating at your house where the food is free. And then you're going to probably spend money on clothes, and because you're at the store. But that's not what this is about, because Sid Mashburn and his team, they're not about the strictly transactional business. And since developing a relationship at the Houston store, I've gained advisors, concierges, advocates. When I went to Houston for a trip, I didn't ask one of my friends who had gone to Houston, or I didn't ask a colleague at work. I called my buddy Jared, who works there. And I said, "Hey man, I'm coming to Houston. Where would you recommend I stay? What's a good hotel?" Or when the first time I came into town and I met Adrian and Jared, who are the two guys who I've worked primarily with at the store, I said, "Hey, I'm about to head out, but I want to grab something to eat before I go. What's a good place?" And they pointed me to a restaurant called Relish. So these are friends, these are advocates that I've gained, who will advocate on my behalf to if it means helping me with a return, or helping me with like those jeans that I talked about in the previous slide. It's so much more than a retail transaction, and that's why I believe it is worth it. It's totally worth it for me. I would rather drive 8 hours and spend my time and money with guys who I relate to, who are my friends, who get what I like and get what I want, and also have an incredible product and are able to educate me on it and will give me a top-notch experience, whether that's just a standard day at the store or whether that's a coffee and classics event where tons of people are there, cool cars are there, and they've got free food, and it's a really fun atmosphere. But most of all, and this is something that I really feel strongly about, and you'll hear Sid say it here.
We traffic in confidence. I mean, that's the return on the investment that the customer's really looking for. You know, because clothes, you can feel good or feel cool or feel sexy or feel many ways in clothes, but ultimately you want a person to feel like their boat is lifted a little bit.
Sid Mashburn, they traffic in confidence and friendship. That's something you can't put a price on. That's the ultimate value add. And whether it's leading a wine tasting for the entire MBA program with Dr. Hart and Niaz and Daniel and Nick Gilbert, or it's asking a question at the packed guest speaker event Dr. Jake Smith put on earlier this year when I was the first person to ask a question, and it was kind of nerve wracking, or whether it's meeting Sid Mashburn himself. I've done so wearing the sport coats that I've bought from them because of that extra confidence that their products provide. It's because of the education. It's because I know how it's made, the intricacies of it. It's because of the attention to detail, the value of the quality, from getting the shoulder right, those little things that I'm now aware of and that I really look for. It builds confidence. And then of course the friendships and the experience with the staff and I mean, they're not even staff, they're my friends. Here are the pictures. Jared's on the left, on the bottom left picture. There's Jared on the left and Adrian on the right. There's another picture of me and Adrian at the top right of the screen. These are products where when I put on my jacket, I'm able to say, you know what? This is a great looking jacket. I love the way it feels on me. And I trust that it does look good on me because Adrian and Jared both helped me pick it out. They said, yeah, that looks good. We're going to, we did the adjustments just right. And this is going to be a great piece for you. And so you can argue that a $1,200 sport coat is not worth it on its face. And I think that at some brands, I would say a $1,200 sport coat from Brooks Brothers might not be worth it. But when you take all the intrinsic value that you get from working with guys like this, from going to a store like this, and the value adds that they provide, and the confidence you get, and the way you feel when you're in the store, again, you can't put a price on that. And that's why I feel like Sid Mashburn has the best retail experience that I've ever seen. And that's why I feel so strongly about it that I wanted to make it my capstone business school project. So I want to thank y'all for watching, and thank you for your consideration.